Hi, so drawing cubes and boxes is perhaps one of the most important things that you can do when learning to draw. And that's what we're going to be tackling today. Hi, my name is Luis Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist on the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 20 years now. And I'm here to empower you. One of the things about drawing boxes that's really important is that when you draw boxes, it gives you a sense of space. It gives you two sides and a top, pretty much on whatever drawing you do, which means that you can see the object that you're drawing in space, whether or not it's accurate. It feels right. Okay, that's easier to do than, for example, a sphere or a cylinder, which has no. Because of the round edges. It's more difficult to see whether or not you have a spatially well-drawn object. So, and on top of that, when you use cubes, you can use a cube and then turn it into a sphere or a cylinder. So, and vice versa, you could actually take a sphere or a cylinder and turn it more boxy so that you can figure out how it works in space, which is the reason why boxes and cubes are really, really important to get right. So I've got this. I was talking to a YouTube follower and Patreon supporter about this, William, who is having trouble drawing cubes and boxes from your imagination. And the reason it's important to get it right from your imagination is because if you're going to be drawing imaginative drawings, if you're going to be drawing characters from your imagination, you're going to want to be able to draw cubes and boxes from your imagination and get them right so that when you construct them, they are accurate. So he sent me some examples of his studying trying to draw boxes and cubes, and they're just not looking right for him. So today I'm going to go over his drawings, and the reason I want to go over his drawings is because when you are practicing drawings just like William, and you're drawing cubes and they're not coming out right, what do you do? How do you fix these things? How do you get better at doing this, even when you're copying cubes? So the experience of drawing them is one thing, because then you end up drawing, but if you start drawing them incorrectly or not right the way that you want them to, then you don't want to ingrain that habit into your brain. So let's take a look at what he did. And so he drew other forms here too, but we're not going to be talking about these because one of the reasons why these forms aren't working is exactly for it is because of this spatial problem. And he also sent me these where he actually took reference and he copied these so that he can wrap his head around this problem, because it is difficult. So we're going to go over these things in case you also are having trouble with this. This stuff isn't easy. This is the hurdle that you have to get past in order to be able to do good, well done drawings. All right, so let's take a look. Now, let's start with this box here, and I think that this is probably one of the best boxes he's got here, and so is this one. So let's look at the ones that the ones that look like they're working. And I would have to say this one looks like it's working, and this one looks like it's working. But this one doesn't, and obviously this one doesn't. And the question is why? Why do these seem to work but not this? Well, part of the problem, one of the things that you're trying to do when drawing a box, and if you're going to draw like just a perfect box without too much perspective, one of the things you're going to want to do let me take this box because it is working. One of the reasons why this is working is because this, wrong layer, these lines are parallel, while this one isn't working because these lines are not. See, they should be parallel, but they're not. They're coming out. So unless you want your box to look like this, you know, we're looking at it from the side. And this is not even, if you want this is a box. This is a square. So because this is not a square, that's what's going on here. You're kind of, he's making the wrong shape. Now this is a square up here. And this is another reason why this is working. So what you want to do is you want to draw a square down here as well, invisibly. Now granted, this square is slanted like this. And it would look like this if we did it right side up. Okay? But it's a slanted square. So that's what this is. And notice it wasn't, my square wasn't absolutely perfect. But this is how you start getting boxes to look a little bit more boxy. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is not a square. And then this bottom part needs to match this top part. You're essentially drawing two squares. Now this is an overly idealized box, by which I mean that there's no perspective. So drawing boxes is essentially drawing squares that are connected like this. So that's essentially what you're drawing. Here's another box. And the box on the bottom. And then connected. Now notice something that just happened. This box is bigger than this box. And because this box is bigger than this box, suddenly we actually get a perspective looking distortion. Okay, so if I was to draw, say, I'm going to draw over here this box. So I'm going to draw a box here. I mean a square. And if I was to take this square and duplicate it and move it. And then connect it. That's basically what we're doing. That's how you draw a box. It's because in a perfect box, all the sides are equal. All the sides are the same. If they're not all the same, they end up looking like this. And like this. And that's fine. This is not supposed to be a perfect box. This is supposed to be a longer box, and then we'll get to that in a second. But in essence, what you're doing is two squares connected by lines like this. Now, if you were going to make a box that is spatially is receding in space. Let's say that I take this, copy it, and move it, and reduce it. So it's exactly the same square, but now it's reduced. Okay. And then connect it. We don't need to draw that side. Now we have a box that's receding in space because this box here is smaller than this box because it's further back. All right. So that's one way of seeing how to draw these boxes. That's one way of drawing boxes that works. Okay. So thinking about it that way, we've got a box like this one. Now, this box, this square isn't exactly perfect, and that's okay. See, this is when you're kind of drawing this kind of shape here. But when all the sides are again, but this side needs to be mirrored in this side too, or this is not going to work. So you're trying to make sure that your lines somehow are the same. And you can make this a little bit smaller than this one. But ideally, you don't want to do it too much. So I'm basically just trying to, if you're going to start with a shape like this, you want to duplicate at least this side here, this line and this line over on this side over here to connect. So now you see that there's a difference here, and this is what was going on This is one of the reasons why this box didn't seem right. Okay. We got the same thing here. So let's say that you start with this. And see how this is receding in space so much. So much. So let's say that that's what he wanted, but it's too much. So this line still needs to parallel this. This line still needs to parallel over here. But this line also needs to be a parallel. And now this line is not. It's going this way when it should be this way. They should still be the same parallel. And this line is going this way also when it should be going that way. And then when you connect, I'm messing up here. It looks much more natural. So these lines need to parallel to as much as possible. And these lines here need to parallel as much as possible. These don't have to. These connecting lines don't have to. But try to mirror image this front and this back shape. They should be almost exact mirror images of each other. Okay? Let me take this box again. Now, this is not a square, it's a rectangle. So if we're doing a rectangle, let's do a rectangle. And have these be perpendicular to each other. And if these are perpendicular to each other, then these here are also should be perpendicular to each other. Okay? So now you've got something that looks much more boxy. This is working because these lines are perpendicular, but notice that these here should be more perpendicular to each other. And if these match these, then you've got a much better box. Let's take this one. The shape of this box is a little wonky because look, this is what's going on right here. This line is going one way, this line is going the other. You should try to be a little bit more perpendicular. This perpendicular. Try to match this one with this. And there you go. Now we got a much boxier shape. Okay. Same with this. Perpendicular. Perpendicular. This line here, perpendicular to this. This line here, perpendicular to this. Now you got a nice box. So that's my tips. Something like this is a little trickier, but what you're basically doing is this shape here is just a smaller version. This shape here is a smaller version of this shape connected by these lines. And these don't have to be perpendicular because the size of this is smaller than this. But when the size of the bottom part is the same as the top, or just slightly smaller, just so slightly that you can't tell, then everything should be perpendicular, shouldn't be a big deal. But when you are doing something that's a little bit more dramatic, or a little bit more skewed, or a little bit more perspective, there's a little bit more perspective, or there's a little bit more distorted is probably the word I was looking for, then it's okay that some of the lines aren't perpendicular, the connecting lines, okay? But there has to be at some point that one of the sides is a mirror image of the other side, but either exactly the same or smaller. So that's one way of thinking. Okay, so let's take a look at these. These boxes are over idealized to the point where they're ridiculously perfect, and because they're computer generated boxes without any perspective. So in a lot of ways they're weird, because you usually don't see boxes this idealized in the real world. So let me take a look at, okay. So we've got the first pass of all these boxes, and there's some frustration that William was telling me about, that they just didn't quite look right. And part of the reason, and this is one of the things that I told him about, I gave him the advice to take his drawings and move them on top of the box that he was drawing, so that he could see where he was off. And what you will find is that he's got the spaces wrong. This line here is not as wide as this. This is not as wide as this. This line is further down than this line is. This is much straighter. This spatial relationship between here and here, compared to the actual box underneath, is wider. So this is much shallower than what he did here. It's much wider. Okay. Now let's take a look at this one up here. He did this blue adjustment. It's much more accurate. Look at this. The adjustment he made is much more accurate, but he's off by a little bit here. So this is, I think, much more successful. This is not supposed to be the right size. So let's check it if we were to blow it up to the actual size. Something like that. So let's check. So he's got this front box pretty close. No, he's got these lines parallel, but this is much wider than what he put down. And then this is these two red lines are much wider than the very thin space between these things. So this is the kind of thing when copying that you're looking for. You're looking for the measuring of these spaces. How wide is this from this? This is something that doing observational drawing is important for, so that when you're observing something and you measure the space, how wide is this from this? It's something that you, as an artist, have to learn to do, because seeing is incredibly important when for drawing just about anything. Because when you study, you use your eyes to see what you're studying. You have to internalize what you're seeing and then be able to put it out. But in order to put it on paper, you have to get accurate. You have to look and measure and see the space relationships between things, so that you can so you could more accurately understand what you're drawing. And in doing that, then when you draw from your imagination, it's more accurate, because you've studied it. You know how far the spatial relationships are in reality, and then you can use your artistic judgment to decide whether or not you're going to go with what you know is real, or you're going to exaggerate, or you're going to get rid of certain details, whatever it is. But first you have to know what you observed in the real world correctly, so that you can make artistic judgments and interpretations. But first get to learn to see accurately what is there, how much space, what color, what shape, the spatial relationships, the boxiness, how it is in space, like all these, like all the little minutiae, all the little details. And I'm not talking about just drawing little tiny details. The details that I mean are things like the spaces in between. How far, how wide are these things? What are these lines parallel? That sort of thing. So let me illustrate. So I'm going to reduce the opacity on these. I'm going to make a new layer here, and I want to draw. I'm going to draw a line here, because I want to see if this line down here is perpendicular to this one. And it is. Okay? Let's do the same here. Okay. And then, am I using the word perpendicular wrong? I should be saying parallel? I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Okay. they're parallel. This is perpendicular, this is parallel. Sorry. So this is perpendicular, this is parallel. So these two lines are parallel to each other. These two lines are parallel to each other. These two lines are parallel. These two lines are parallel. These two lines are parallel. Okay? Now let's check this. This line is fine, but then this line is slightly slanted this way, and this line is slightly slanted this way. So neither one of them are parallel. So that's part of the problem. Besides the width. And these lines should be parallel. This line should be parallel. This line should be parallel. This line should be parallel. To this line down here. parallel, parallel, parallel. And then this line should be parallel to this line here. And this line should be parallel to this line here. This is an unnaturally perfect cube, where every single line is absolutely perfectly parallel to the opposite line across from it. And I don't think I got the spatial relationships right. No, I didn't. This is much wider. And this is a little bit wider, so. Oops. So what I will do, if I'm doing a study and trying to get it right, I will make adjustments for myself. Okay. Now these are not quite right. I don't know if you hear my kids. Some of them are having a fight downstairs, screaming at each other. Okay. Oh, still not right, but better. This is off, see? Because it's not parallel. And I'm still off. Okay, let's try it again. Much better, but I'm still off right here. It's much straighter. Let me get rid of this so I could see the drawing. And that means that this should be a mirror image. Should be absolutely parallel. There we go. It's better, but it's still off. But it's better. So, I think I will say close enough. But so, I mean, that's what you have to do if you want to get really accurate. Don't draw on top of it, because the entire point is to teach yourself to see better, right? And I've been doing this for years, but I still didn't get it perfect. So You know, just keep practicing, keep doing it. But the principle that you ought to keep in mind when doing these things is that all of these sides, all of these ends are parallel to each other. And I kept on saying perpendicular, and I'm so sorry. That's so dopey of me, but okay. And then these two lines are parallel. This line is parallel to this. This line here is parallel to that. This line here is parallel to this. And when you look at this drawing here, these lines are not parallel to each other. This line is going this way when it should be parallel. This line and this line here are not parallel. This line is going this way and this line is going that way. They should be parallel to each other. These two lines are fine. They are parallel. But and then this line needs to be parallel. This line here needs to be parallel. This line here needs to be parallel. So this would be a more pleasing cube, even if it's not a perfect. This isn't this. It's more. It's pleasing. And then this space, like for me, I would say that I didn't get it right. It would be somewhere around here, like this. So this is too wide. This is what I see. It's something a little bit much tighter. Okay. Again, this one, let's check. This line here. And then this line and this line should be parallel. But it's not, because it's going slightly this way. So we need this to be parallel. We need this to be parallel. This is subtly going this way. Let's straighten it up. This line here needs to be parallel to this one, but this one is going like this for some reason. See how it's just going this way like that? It should be parallel. It should be parallel. And even mine isn't quite parallel, so I'm making adjustments. So that's how you're making perfect cubes. Okay, so this is when it starts getting tricky because these are imperfect cubes. Well, not imperfect, but they are in perspective. They start distorting. So how do you handle that? Well, the same way that I spoke about before. So this is going to be trickier because in perspective, once perspective starts happening, all the lines tend to stop being so parallel. So let's check. this line is no longer parallel to its opposite. Okay? This line is no longer parallel to its opposite. So now we're getting into something a little bit more difficult, because when the parallel stuff goes away, then what? All right. Ideally, what you want to do is do a lot of drawings of boxes going to vanishing points, because the more you do that, going to 1 or 2 vanishing points, ideally 2, because this is 2 vanishing points. Actually, this is 3. The reason you want to do that is because you want to start getting used to seeing skewed boxes in perspective. The more you do it, the more you start getting used to seeing them distorted. So that, and then because you've been drawing them in perspective distorted, your body's going through the motions of having drawn them in perspective distorted. So my recommendation when you're starting to deal with distorted boxes is to draw boxes in 2-point perspective and 3-point perspective. Usually you're not going to want to draw boxes this distorted. Usually a 2-point perspective distortion would be ideal. This is a 3-point perspective distortion, which is not common. More common is a 1-point perspective distortion like this one. But this is 3 points, this is 3 points. This is 1-point perspective. This is not even a 1-point perspective. This is just a box. And all these lines are parallel to each other. So we've already gone through that. But we're talking about this. So this box here is not bad. This is a pretty decent box. It doesn't look like this box, but it's a decent box. So William right here did a good job. If you wanted to get a perfect version of this box, then he would have to measure the distances between stuff here. But this is actually, the reason why this is a decent looking box is because these lines are almost parallel to each other, and these lines are almost parallel to each other. These lines are not, but that's okay. This line is almost parallel to this one. This one's almost parallel to this one. So that's more of a common way of drawing a box, like we just showed, with this slight distortion here, with these lines going not being parallel. These are the 2 lines that are not parallel to each other, because this box on the bottom is slightly smaller than the box on the top. So we've already talked about a parallel type square on one end and another one that's smaller on the bottom, and then these lines that connect them would be distorted in some way. They don't need to be parallel. Okay, so let's talk about something as crazy as this. Well, what we've got here is a box that, a square that isn't quite square. So this square that isn't quite square I can't even mirror image it down here because I don't, let me see. Because this line is not parallel to this one. Yeah, so this would be a really tricky thing to do from your imagination. and it would require a lot of experience doing 3-point perspective drawings. But because we're copying this, then we have to know that these are a little bit off. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to copy this shape here, this top shape, correctly first. And that is when it gets tricky. So this is when just your skill in eyeing lines comes in. And this is where copying the seeing skill of an artist comes in. And you will see if I get it right myself. And that's the challenge, you know. This line goes, I believe, like this. This line is not parallel, so this line is not parallel. The logic here, though, is that because this line is going off into a vanishing point, what I am not doing is drawing the two lines going away from each other like this. If anything, if they were parallel to each other, instead of being parallel to each other, this line here is moving inward a little bit. So it's like this on this side, and instead of being exactly the same, it's a little bit like this. Just a little bit. Okay? The reason why is because vanishing point is somewhere over here. And they are both going to it in a different path. So if I was going to get it wrong, it would be because I'm drawing this going in the wrong direction, and you're imagining that they're going to a vanishing point off over here, and so they're coming closer together. At some point, they're gonna meet at the vanishing point. Same with this line and the bottom line here. At some point, they're gonna meet at a vanishing point. They're gonna come together. So this line has to point inward slightly. So that's what I'm thinking when I'm drawing something like this. Exactly the same thing as this and this line. This line and this line are eventually going to meet somewhere in the bottom down here. So they're kind of slowly coming together. So that's the logic that you're thinking about when you're drawing a box like this. That this line and this line are going to come together at some point in a vanishing point, way far away. But they're slightly coming together already. And then this line here and this line here, this line, it means that the reason why this line is so different is because the vanishing point must be much closer than all the other vanishing points. So this one is already moving closer. And then this also shows that the vanishing point is actually much closer than say this two, because these two are closer to being parallel. Not quite, but closer than these two here, which are much further away from being parallel, because the vanishing point must be closer. And this is something that you pick up by doing perspective with actual vanishing points. Okay, so that's what's going on here. This is the logic, and that's how you think. So when you're drawing something that is going to be distorted like this, you're thinking about the rules, the way that if you were, and by quote I put quotes because if you were just to draw the vanishing points and do all the stuff mechanically, this is what's going on. Like, these lines are slowly coming together. They're gonna merge. They're slowly gonna merge. These lines here are slowly gonna merge. So that's the logic. That's why these aren't exactly parallel, because they're slowly merging closer together. Same thing with this. This is exactly the same thing. So the reason why this box doesn't quite match this is because these are parallel. Instead of moving together as if they were eventually going to merge, like this is fine. This line looks like it's going to eventually merge. This line looks like it's going to eventually merge with these. This line is here, but then this line is too parallel to this one. This one needs to look like it's going to eventually merge. And then this line needs to look like it shouldn't be parallel to this one. It should look like it's going to eventually merge together. Somewhere in the distance. Okay, so this is a little bit more accurate than this, because because this one doesn't, all of them are parallel, which is great if you're not doing something with like some kind of extreme 2-point, 3-point perspective. But if you are, then you have to think logically as far as these lines are eventually going to merge at some point in the distance. So let's see how close I got my box to this box. Because I know you're dying to find out how well I did. I'm not. I'm not, because I don't want to be embarrassed and totally be off. Well, it doesn't look like I'm going to be that far off. I'm a little off here, and I'm definitely off this distance. I overdid the distance here, which I think is the reason, and I may have gotten this corner right, but otherwise I did okay. It's not a complete embarrassment. It's not a complete success either. This line is not merging enough, and neither is my bottom line here. So these two lines are not merging enough, and then this line here is not quite merging enough. But otherwise, it's pretty decent. Just looking at what this looks like here. Okay. So again, I'm not going to go over all of these, but I just want to, again, this box, All of these should be parallel. This line should be parallel to this one. That's in this, and it isn't. It's going over here for some reason. So parallel, 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 parallel. It should be this. These are really simple now. You should be able to do these super easy now because you know that all the lines are parallel. And these are the tricky ones because they require a little bit more understanding of the eventual merging of these lines. These are, you're trying to be parallel when they shouldn't. This line is going to go eventually going to merge. They're going to merge together into one point. And these lines are going to eventually merge together into one point. These lines are going to eventually merge together into one point. So these lines should not be parallel. You're making these lines parallel when you shouldn't, and you're trying to make these lines parallel when you shouldn't, when these two lines are actually going to merge in some point in the distance. This line is going to eventually, this line up here is eventually going to merge into, and it's really extreme. That means that the horizon line is closer to this than it is to that, and that the vanishing point is much closer to us, and this line is going to eventually merge with this one, and this one's not so bad. But that's what you're thinking, and then these lines are going to eventually merge in some point in space up here, and actually this should probably be even more extreme. I'm actually, I was drawing them a little bit too parallel even myself. So this, if you look at what's going on here, the way that William drew it, this one's going over here, this one's going over here, and this one's going over here like this. So this is in no way going to merge with anything. These two will probably eventually merge, but this one is going nowhere. And then he did fix this. Here I could see. So this is a good direction, and this is a good direction. These will eventually merge. It's just not in the extreme that this space here is not this space. This space is a little bit like more like this. Okay. Again, with this is going here. This is going to merge eventually, but these are almost parallel. You want to show that these are going to merge. This one's okay. But it's just not, this space is wider. So it should really be way over here. This line here, this line here, are two parallel, and they will eventually merge. These over here and these will eventually merge. And right here, these are two parallel, these are two parallel. This is actually not even, this line here and this line is going out this way for some reason. It shouldn't. It should actually go down this way, and this way it is extremely so, because it's going to eventually, these two are going to meet somewhere over here. And then this line here is coming down that way, because it's going to eventually merge with this line in some point in space further away. So that's what we're looking at when we're looking at these boxes. And that's why you're off. And this actually shows the merging. The point is going to be down here somewhere. All of them are pointing to a point. All of them are going to a point. Doesn't seem like you're thinking that way. And this is exactly the same way, that all these lines are coming down to a point over here in the distance. So all of these lines should line up. There, see? They all line up. So all of these lines should line up, and then these lines are not. All right, so, and then all of these lines here are parallel to each other, all of them. Boom, 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 all the way across. They're perfectly parallel. These line up perfectly with these. These are perfect lines, perfect straight lines to each other. There should be no wobbly lines. And if that's the case, if you're having problems with drawing lines straight, then maybe you should practice drawing lines straight. You know, drawing perfect lines, perfect straight lines. Drawing straight lines, man. That's another drill. Why not? I mean, you gotta learn. You practice. Not all my lines are straight. Oop, there we go. Some of these are a little wobbly, but you saw. So I hope this has helped. I hope that this is a good just trying to talk about drawing boxes and lines and things like that. And this is a whole other mess. This is a whole other mess. I'm not going to get into that because I think that I've gotten my point across. I think that what I've shown so far is enough for you all to start understanding how boxes work, what you need to do when drawing boxes, how to think about drawing boxes, using parallel lines together when drawing things in more perspective looking things. It's ideal to start learning how to do 1 and 2 point perspective so that you could understand what's going on, that those lines are eventually coming together and to emerge at a point in space, which is the reason why they are all distorted and they are not parallel. So, and ways to make distorted looking boxes look right simply by having the sides be exactly the same here, and then even when they're not the same size, they are the exact same shape, and then you can just shrink them, and then you've got a slightly distorted box that looks like it's going receding into a vanishing point in space. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this starts unlocking the boxes and the cube drawing problems that have been coming that you may be struggling with. If you're having the same problems that William is having, and hopefully William, you see a good way to approach drawing boxes so that they work better for you. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I would like to encourage you to go to my Patreon, because at my Patreon, if you like this kind of thing and you want private coaching from me, you can have it. I have a tier, a special tier, that I have a limited amount of people that I will coach. Right now, there's a few people that I'm coaching already that they come at me. We have a conversation online together, face to face. They tell me what they want, and then I create special assignments so that I could go over them, and similar to this, and help one-on-one. It's not public like this. It's private. It's specifically catered to their needs, to your needs, and that will help you become better. And I guarantee you're going to become, you will see improvement in 3 months, at least 3 months. And if you haven't seen, and if you don't see any improvement in 3 months, then I will give you your money back. But you will see improvement, guaranteed. I guarantee you're going to see it if you do the work. If you do the work. If you don't do the work, obviously you're not going to see improvement. If you want to prove me wrong, you're not going to see improvement because you don't want to get better. Okay, so it's a special tier just for that. So if you want personal coaching from me, I highly recommend to go to my Patreon and get in on that tier, and we could immediately start coaching you to improve. Otherwise, if you just want to support me to continue doing these videos, or if you want to ask me questions so that I could answer them here publicly, like I did with William, who is a patron, then please go ahead and sign up, and I will answer. I answer everybody's questions, but my patrons, I try to be much more on the ball with. Sometimes I can't always get on the ball, but I try to get there and get their videos done first, prioritize them first, get their issues worked out first. That's what I try to do as much as possible. I have 6 kids, so sometimes it doesn't quite work out for me, but that's the ideal. That's what I strive for. And so William being a patron, I'm trying really hard to try to get him to get to the level that he wants to do, and he's not paying me to coach. This is just regular patronage. So if you want this, just even that, this is fine too. You could do it publicly. I could record it on video like this. So, and on top of that, you also get rewards. All the JPEGs and artwork that I do during the week. I also give you downloads of that. JPEGs, you can print them out. You can do all kinds. I actually have suggestions on my Patreon of all the stuff that you can do. You could win posters and rewards. You could win original art that I send off to my patrons as giveaways every month. There's so much going on over on my Patreon that is not, if it's not about coaching or whatever, and if you just want to get artwork, then you can get that too. So again, I encourage you to go to my Patreon and support me, because it helps me, motivates me to make these videos too. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. All right, bye.